What are some mysteries that have actually been solved? The bloop sound that was recorded in the Pacific Ocean that baffled scientists was finally found to be an ice quake. I have a silly and weird feeling of sadness knowing this is no longer a mystery. It's been one for so long. Next you will tell me that, wow, signal was just space dust. There was one, maybe not that widely known, about a guy who was found to have committed suicide in a motel in Washington or Oregon. No idea who it was. Strange note crumpled in the garbage that just said suicide. No one ever came forward to say they knew him based on his picture and papers. Was on all the unknown person forums, even here on Reddit. Just one of those cases that was interesting to me. And, after many years, they used the DNA family matching thing and found his family. His family just thought he just went off and was living his life. That happened in Amanda Park, Washington. The alias he used to sign into the hotel was Lyle Stavik. His real name has not been released to the public, but he was 25 when he passed. Whether the Titanic sank in one piece or not, many discounted those survivors who said they saw her split in two, because they had a hard time believing such a mighty ship could rip apart like that. It was not until Bellard and his crew found her that the truth was revealed. The mysterious trails of rocks at Racetrack Playa in Death Valley National Park, California. For many years, the cause of these mysterious rock movements was unknown. However, in recent years, scientists have discovered that the rocks move due to a combination of wind and ice. During periods of rain or melting snow, water freezes into thin sheets of ice on the surface of the lake bed. When the ice breaks apart, it can be moved by wind, and as the ice sheets move, they push the rocks along with them, leaving behind the distinctive trails. Elisa Lam, the woman found dead in the water tank on top of a hotel in Los Angeles. It was not a murder or ghost. She was mentally ill, having a bipolar episode. She decided to go off her medication and started to believe that she was being followed. Most likely she thought she would be safe in the tank, so she climbed in but could not get out and died of hypothermia. Definitely not ghosts or conspiracy, just unfortunate circumstances. How to make gold from lead. Hundreds of years the alchemists tried it unsuccessfully. Today it is possible using a particle accelerator. However, it is far from cost efficient. Mining gold is orders of magnitudes cheaper. Ships and planes never mysteriously vanished in the Bermuda Triangle. Sinks sank because of rough weather, and planes dropped because they hit airborne pockets of methane and the engines stalled. Thanks to modern navigation, not a single ship or plane sank there in over 20 years. Torosaurus was actually a mature Triceratops. Nanotyrannus was a baby T-Rex. Stygimoloch and Dracorex are younger Pachycephalosaurus skeletons. Anatodoton was a grown-up Edmontosaurus, and I think there was a few others just because baby dinosaurs look drastically different than adults. I scrolled far too long and didn't find anyone mentioning it, but the Zodiac cipher was finally cracked. Irk from their YouTube video. The reason it took so long for people to crack it was because it was riddled with spelling errors, indicating that the Zodiac killer was probably undereducated or had a learning disability of some kind. Here is the YouTube link with a much more thorough explanation reasoning. Kids love Cinnamon Toast Crunch because it's all sugar. The boy in the box has been identified as Joseph Augustus Zarelli, although his homicide is still an open investigation. Spontaneous generation. People used to think flies would spontaneously appear from rotten meat, as every time they had it, flies somehow would appear even though flies were nowhere close when the meat was okay. After observation and experiments, we understood flies landed in the meat, left their eggs, and then more flies would be born and then stay to eat the meat. Just last year the identity of the Somerton Man was discovered. The Somerton Man was an unidentified man whose body was found on 1 December 1948 on the beach at Somerton Park, a suburb of Adelaide, South Australia. The case is also known after the Persian phrase tamam shud, meaning is over or is finished, which was printed on a scrap of paper found months later in the fob pocket of the man's trousers. The scrap had been torn from the final page of a copy of Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, authored by 12th century poet Omar Khayyam. Just a guy who split from his wife and didn't want to be found. The Roanoke colony was not murdered by natives or kidnapped by aliens. They joined the local native tribe. We can tell because people in the tribe were born with blonde hair and blue eyes for decades after the colonials went missing. The miraculous staircase in the Loreto Chapel in Santa Fe, New Mexico. There was even a movie made about it starring Barbara Hershey. One of the myths is that it stands miraculously without a center support pole, and no engineer can figure out how that is possible. The center stringer is tightly wrapped with only 8 diameter. It acts as the center pole. None said a 9-day novena for a much-needed staircase. A woodworker miraculously showed up from nowhere and built the staircase. It must have been Saint Joseph. The staircase was ordered from France. The manufacturer sent a guy to put it together. It's made of wood found nowhere in the area. It's a miracle. Because the wood is from France. Duh. And finally, the guy who built it stayed in Santa Fe afterward. The local newspaper had his obituary 1896 or 1898, and even said he was the man who built the staircase. That stranded cosmonaut recording is 99% likely to be a hoax. Many have discredited if the brothers' technology was even capable of picking up the signal of a cosmonaut who's drifted off course. But the real smoking gun is that the woman in the audio recording is speaking in broken Russian, and the 2 brothers who picked up the signal had a sister who is currently learning Russian, which would explain the limited vocabulary and pronunciation issues that skeptics have pointed out. We have only explored 10% of the ocean. We don't know what's out there. Yes, we do. Water and rocks. How caterpillars become butterflies. When I was 12, I wanted to go university to be the first person to discover how they do it. Once caterpillars have a cocoon, they secrete an enzyme that turns them into a puddle of stem cell-filled goop, and then that becomes a butterfly. How the pyramids were built. For some reason, people still keep saying we don't know. Well, we do. It boils down to math plus money plus grunt work. The core workers and project leaders were professionals, and some slaves, likely not thousands and thousands, as previously assumed, were used for labor. It's also known that low-wage workers were used as well. That's it. It's not magic, and it's insulting to ancient people to claim that they could not have had any sort of mathematical accuracy or the ability to build with precise lines. Of course they could do that. They had ropes and pulleys and understood leverage and design. They knew what tools to use. They had artisans and engineers. Standig plane crash. Late 1940s, a British plane flying in South America sent out the message in Morse code 3 times. Standig then vanished. Found in the 90s to have crashed underpowered into the side of a mountain and buried in a glacier. It was a huge UFO conspiracy theory for years. The Solway Firth spaceman became popular in ufology, as it supposedly showed a mysterious figure in the background. For 50 years no one quite knew what it really was till someone analyzed the photo and concluded it was actually the mother, who accidentally walked into the photo. The reason she looked like a spaceman was because of overexposure. The Mary Celeste was probably abandoned as part of an insurance fraud. The Golden State Killer, who goes by many other famous serial killer names including Night Stalker and East Area Rapist, turned out to be an ex-policeman. They finally found him using DNA in 2018, almost 40 years later. I am pretty sure Jeremy Wade solved the mystery of Loch Ness. The entire story they put together paints a pretty clear to me picture anyway, that it is probably a Greenland shark. The location of King Tut's tomb, which was finally found in 1922. Was anyone looking for King Tut's tomb? It was a good find due to it being intact. It was intact because he was minor and comparatively poor, so no grave robbers at the time bothered with it. The location of Larry Eli Murillo Moncada, missing since 2009. His remains were found in a former no-frills supermarket in Council Bluffs, Iowa. He apparently had fallen in an 18-inch gap between shelves and coolers, and no one heard his screams. My socks are not eaten by the laundry machine as I thought for a decennium. They go hiding inside my bedsheets instead. The mystery of the Mary Toft. In 1726, a woman in England claimed to have given birth to rabbits. While it was believed to be a medical mystery at the time, it was later discovered that the rabbits had been inserted into her womb by a local surgeon. For 20 years nobody knew who killed Tupac Shakur. It took the killer's uncle coming forward and saying it was his nephew who killed him. He was in the car when it happened. It was Orlando Anderson, right after he was jumped by Tupac and his entourage at the MGM Grand. He was a Crip from South Side Compton known for being a shooter, and coincidentally was killed a little while later. Everyone suspected it was Orlando from day one. Wardle Pucci Faust most likely killed Biggie too. Thanks for watching. Share your story in the comment.